It's a film about an 83-year-old ex-Harvard academic who wrote the book on how to start a revolution. And basically this text has been used throughout the years, almost since the early 80s, to help people bring down their dictatorships. I first started making the film 2.5 years ago. I was a newspaper journalist and I'd seen his work in use in the Orange Revolution and the Serbian Revolution when I was a very young journalist. And I saw all of these revolutions happening and that there was a common theme, that they were using the same tactics. And at first I thought it was a CIA conspiracy, but when I looked further, I saw that each of these revolutions was using the same book, and this was Gene Sharp's book. So that's what started it for me, and I started the film 2.5 years ago, long before the Arab Spring and the Iranian uprising, and all of these things happened during the making of the film, which was great because I started from the Serbian Revolution, and then world events unfolded as I was making this film. So at the end I ended up in Tahrir Square, sleeping the night alongside protesters, seeing his work in action after 2 years of working on this film. So it's a historical documentary, but it's also a sort of almost like a practical teaching guide on how you start a revolution and the academic grounding behind that. And then there's a very personal story about a man who's dedicated his life to helping people overthrow their tyrants. The main point that you get from reading Gene Sharp's work is that protest isn't enough. There are some pragmatic things that you can do, things like putting your movement in colours and using symbols, withdrawing power, so doing strikes and sit-ins and boycotts, and they all have to be combined in a strategy. And a lot of the movements that we see in the world today, the anti-capitalist movements, the G8 movements, the Green movement, they don't have an overarching strategy. And what Gene Sharp does is produce a blueprint for how you organise it like a military strategy to achieve your ultimate goal. Well, Raindance is a fantastic place to, have a European premiere of this film. It's, full of people who are really interested in the subject, and a huge number of inquiries and interest, and it's just fantastic to have it here in London. There's a huge academic community, and there's also a huge community of people who have had to leave their countries because of dictatorship and other tyranny. So there's a huge interest in it from the whole spectrum, and just to have it at the centre of London at a festival as high profile at Raindance is just a huge privilege.